Welcome back, dear viewers. You are still watching the Breakfast Show, and as I've just said that we are going to talk about the government efforts to encourage auto industry here in Egypt. Today we are joined by Dr. Mostafa Waly, former General Manager for Egyptian Industries Federation. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, sir, as I've just mentioned that the government is encouraging the auto industry and is providing a package of competitive incentives for investors in this field, and and its impact on attracting foreign investments in this automotive industry. How do you see these efforts?
First of all, I really was fascinated and very impressed with this agreement yesterday, MOU yesterday, with this very big conglomerate or consortium for auto operations and auto manufacturing. It's a big one. However, the incentives and the efforts of the government and the current leadership to boost any positive thing concerning the economy or the welfare of the Egyptian people, a lot of effort are behind it. And this we are witnessing, and we'll keep witnessing it until, of course, we reach all our goals and inspirations. I say this because I believe in it. So when it comes to this section which we are talking about, or this sector, the automotive business or the automotive industries, it is really important because we are talking about very, very sophisticated and very important industry all over the world and in everywhere, especially when it comes to people of such population like us, where the demand for automotive on both commercial and passenger on private needed. And if we look at the figures for importing the final product or the end product of such industry, which is a car, I mean passenger car or a commercial one, we'll find it a big money. So in case we can, and we already tried before and we succeeded, and we can succeed more in establishing these industries on the latest of what have been in the world, and the success stories for both the upstream and the downstream of this industry, it is very encouraging. The only thing that the whole world now is passing some tough time concerning even this industry. So with this situation, we could be prepared by our experience at large in the industry, because of if you look at the number of the Egyptian factories or owned by the government, or I mean by public sector, and most of them are private sectors, it shows you how vibrant and how strong it is ready to capture more of encouragement and more of investment on the ground. Let's hope that such agreements will be materialized. And especially for the time being, we have to be very, very realistic. And we see that the whole situation around the world is not that easy, but it will be soon over. So it's for us to prove ourselves in this time. And it shows you the importance and the greatness of concluding such agreement with such big names in the industry in the world.
Yes, also, Engineer Mostafa, how does Egypt's transition to electric cars save quantities of high-cost fuels compared to electricity prices? Yes, Doctor.
Hello.
Yes, Engineer Mostafa?
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fine. Well, I have to be very realistic because we have to be very careful when it comes to figures and come to facts and figures, especially for such important things. Comparing now between the turning to the electrical power for cars, for trucks, for the automotive in general, and the conventional, which have been all the time up till now for about 100 more years now. So No, nobody can tell exactly, but at least there is more objective and more important goal to turn into to turn to electric. It is the whole environment of the world, where we are looking all together, especially Egypt now, where we will host this COVID, this COP 27 on few months from now. That the emission and the global warming is very, very dangerous to the whole humanity, actually, and the studies prove this. So this could be surpassing the cost right now for comparison, because it might be that we should all together, let's say on 2050, that we should turn, everywhere, every country should turn into electric cars or electric automotive powering. So in this case, but right now, even right now, it proves in most of the places that turning into electricity is cheaper, actually, especially now with this hype in the prices of oil. But for us in Egypt, with our gas around and all this, even the cost to electricity is better, because we are using our gas actually and our local oil in electric power plants in generating electricity. So I'm trying to emphasize this because actually we have to be very, very careful when it comes to comparison for a transient situation. But in general, moving to electric cars, moving to electric powering of automotive is good from every side.
Yes, Engineer Mostafa, what are the challenges that face this industry here in Egypt, and how can we overcome these challenges?
Well, if we get back to, let's say, some 30 years ago, there was the land challenges also, but we joined, the private sector and, of course, some public sector companies have been, ventured in getting into this business, and they managed to have success stories over the years. Of course, the ups and downs is always in the market and in the world, but in general, at least within the last 30 years, at least, we managed to have an infrastructure both in logistic and in materialistic side of the business and in the human resources of the business, so which was built over that time. So the challenge is to get the latest technology and to upgrade the level and the standard of skills of our labor force and technical capacity. And this is achievable now. This is achievable. We have a new generation who is very open to modern technology, to aspire and get to the deepest of the sophistication in automation and in IT, and this is important items now in the business of manufacturing in general, and specifically in automotive business.
Yes. Also, sir, how can we attract more investors to this sector, as we can see that the government is providing more incentives to them?
Yes. The incentives is needed. It's okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
The incentives are needed badly, and always is needed, and you cannot attract foreign direct investment unless you have the basics, which ensure that the investor that he will have some good margin of his investment. Right now, we have the infrastructure, especially when it comes to energy. We have the reclamation, we have the roads, and we have a big net of an important net of roads, which will help even to allocating some industries, feeding industries for this specific automotive business, which even in itself, the feeding industry proved itself over the few years, so that we reached more than 50% local content. So localization it was achieved so far. The only thing is that how to manage, I mean, according to the international situation and our situation, to be competitive in other things, is to offer, the best when it comes to labor force, the most qualified, and also make use of our geographical situation. We are the gate to Africa. We are in the middle of the Mediterranean, in the Middle East. So these are advantages, and we can make use of it. We can utilize it to the end. The only thing that let's hope that things will settle down a bit when we get into this, and soon the
Yes.
results will be there.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Mostafa Waly, former General Manager for Egyptian Industries Federation. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Dear viewers, a short break, and we'll be back, so stay tuned.